Hey guys, welcome to session 3 of the online marriage class, your time-starved marriage. I'm Scott and I'm here with my wife Amy. And we have our coffees, our Bibles, and ready to go. The one thing we are missing is the cheese.
It's over here. It's waiting.
No, it's not. It's right here. I don't know if you knew this. You haven't because I haven't told you. But somebody has really gone along with the cheese.
What?
Yeah. And this is a Chrissy Fuller special. And
Chrissy?
she thought we should have some more
A
cheese.
cheese platter?
A cheese plate, yeah.
Stop it.
One more?
Chrissy, you are
Yep.
amazing. So can I put the real cheese
Yeah,
over
put
here?
the real cheese away and we'll just go with the...
No, I want to put the real cheese on here. That's amazing.
Okay.
Oh, Chrissy, what an awesome addition to our cheesy homework and our cheesy study.
Yeah, if you're just joining us, you're a couple weeks behind and maybe this doesn't make sense for you, so we'll kind of put that out of the way till we get to cheesy homework time, which
Okay.
we will get to our cheesy homework time.
That's awesome.
But today, we're recapping session 3, and it really talked about how we use our time. You know, we talk about the love languages, which we'll share in a few more weeks, but how we use our time and how we view our time is completely different. And I think he makes the point is different isn't bad. Different can be good. It can bring out the best of us. I think for you and I, we're definitely different. That sometimes there's not as much emotion on this side of the table, but there's areas that you bring out emotion and say, Scott, no, you need to see it from this perspective. And we complement each other in certain things.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I have never looked at this piece of time in this perspective, and actually before I watched the video and read some of the book, which I forgot at home, but it made me understand a little more about how you view life how I view life. And it was very interesting because even if you are not married, this section is so good because I was able to pinpoint how the boys kind of process time as well.
Yep.
So, and it seems a little deep, but they break it down very well in the video. So make sure you watch the video session 3.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because as they talk about the time-starved marriage and the way people use and view time, how it's planned, how it's spontaneous, this is an argument we've had for the past 2 weeks. You know what I'm talking about?
Vacation.
Vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah, like how do we want to use vacation? We are going to vacation for a few days this summer down in Florida, and the way I want a vacation is 100% different than the way you want a vacation.
Right. So we vacation once a week every summer. That's
Once a year.
Once a year. once a year every summer with the boys, and it's our time away from everything life, right? So we really enjoyed that week, and sometimes our boys don't enjoy it as much, so we sometimes call it
Yeah, at the
family
time
force
they
time.
don't, but we look back and they enjoy it.
Yeah, so we have experienced some awesome memories as a family in that week. But me and Scott, leading up to this week, it's very interesting, and this explains it as I went through this video and this study.
Yep. So I want to come home from vacation exhausted. I want to say, man, look at the 100 different things that we did. I don't want to waste time in the hotel room. I don't want to waste time sleeping. I want to go, see. Doesn't mean we're spending money the whole time. It just means when we get back, look at all the things we've accomplished.
Okay, so first of all, can I just say,
What is this?
Scott, before every vacation, will pull out manila envelopes and hand us
The itinerary.
The itinerary. And I'm not even kidding. It's like, hey guys, this is what we're going to do all week, so be ready. And we can't miss any time, or we're going to put ourselves off for the next thing that we got to do. And it's very, very overwhelming and stressful to me. So he has typed out itineraries. He has it planned to the lunch, to the dinner, to what time we need to wake up. I do not think that way. I want to go.
But I schedule a rest time from like 1 to 2.
Thank you for scheduling my rest time, even though I don't know if my body's going to be wanting to rest at that time.
Yeah.
So I'm more like, let's go on vacation and rest.
Yeah. No. You can do that when you're dead. So here we go. We get into the 4 different things, and I don't think we're going to agree on how we see each other either, but the 4 different ways that we view time. And briefly, let me share with you in case you haven't seen the video or you're not watching the videos. They say there's 4 different types of people that we can be. The first is the improviser. Mm-hmm. And really, there's going to be 2 questions they ask.
Okay, yeah.
Are you scheduled or are you spontaneous, or are you future-oriented or present-oriented? And based upon you answer those 2 questions, you fall into one of 4 quadrants.
Yep.
I have problems talking today.
That's all right. Do you want a bite of cheese?
Just got out of a 2-hour meeting, and I was talking the whole time, so now I got to get back. All right, so here we go.
I do like those 2 questions. Can I
Absolutely.
say those? Because it does break it down a little more, and they say in the video, the number 1 question you can ask yourself and your spouse this right now as you're watching this: are you more subjective or objective, unscheduled or scheduled? So you can think of that answer right now between you and your spouse. And then the number 2 question is, are you more present oriented or future oriented?
Yep.
And between those 2 questions, it will break it down kind of how you see time.
Scheduled, not scheduled.
And present.
Present, not present.
Yep.
Now listen, we're going to have to schedule everything. You're going to have some schedules in your day. So just because you schedule something doesn't mean you're completely scheduled. And just because you're present for the moment doesn't mean you're a person that's always present. So we're going to fall in and out of these categories each way.
Right.
But the important part is, where do you find yourself the most of the
yeah.
time? And so the first one we see is the improviser, who is unscheduled and present oriented. So, hey, I'm not going to schedule out things for the next few weeks, but when you have my time, you have my time. And I like how Les and Leslie said this: there's not a good or a bad place to be. Like, there's positives in all 4 of these quadrants, but there's also negatives in all 4 of these quadrants. So this one, this person's going to look a bit disorganized. Like, hey, I didn't really plan what's going on. I showed up at 1:30 instead of 12:30, like I said. But when you're with that person, like, you have their undivided attention. You have all of them. They're not checking their cell phone. They're not anywhere else. They are present at that time. And so the negative is, it looks a little disheveled, but the positive is, like, when you have them, that's when you have them.
Number 2.
Anything else about that one? Number 1?
No, I think that you said it all.
I'm going to say one more thing. I think that's where you're at.
Yes,
Is that what you chose yourself for?
Yeah, but I thought we were going to go through all 4 and then you were going to choose. But yes, I definitely am scheduled and very present.
Yep.
But that's good for me to know.
Oh, it's great. Like, when you're with whoever you're with, whether it's your friends, your kids, or your spouse, they have like 100% of you.
I give 100% in that moment.
Like you're in.
But I am a little unscheduled and I'm spontaneous.
Yeah.
So if somebody is going to get Starbucks, but I'm supposed to be somewhere at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, go get some coffee.
Yeah, I want some coffee and I want to spend time with you. Let's go.
Yep.
Oh, I have a meeting at 11 o'clock. I'll show up 10 minutes late. It'll be okay. So, yeah.
Yep. I don't think you're going to get what I think I am.
Okay,
but let's move
keep
on.
on.
All right.
So that's number 1, improviser. Number 2.
You want me to do it?
Yep.
Manager. This person is highly scheduled and future oriented. So they're highly scheduled. I've got my schedule laid out for this week, for this month, highly scheduled, but always thinking about the future. So even though you're with them, it's, hey, here's what's coming next. Here's what we can do next. And so this person is the manager. They will show up and give you the full attention when they're there, which is the strength. But if you ain't scheduled, you ain't getting in. Like, hey, I need to meet with you real quick. I need to do date night real quick. Well, no, it wasn't part of the schedule.
Right.
I will give you my time and effort when I'm here, but you did not plan this. You did not schedule this. I will manage the time.
It was not on the list this morning.
It was not on the list.
And I want to.
It will not happen.
I want to retract. You said future, so it's present. That you're scheduled and you're very present in the moment.
Yeah,
then.
present.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Highly scheduled, present oriented.
Present oriented. Yep.
Number 3, the planner is highly scheduled and future oriented. Kind of well thought through, well thought out. So this planner is going to plan the date quite well. And
they're going to show up for dinner, but they're going to be worried about the next event the next day. Like,
Yep.
they are not in the moment.
Yep. Everything's planned out, looks good. But you know what? There's other stuff that maybe you can use that dinner to plan for something in the future. And
Right.
so future oriented.
Planning things a year in advance and planning dinners a year in advance.
See, that's how we're going to differ, because I think I'm a planner when it comes to vacation. But here we go. And
Yeah.
the 4th one is the dreamer. They are unscheduled and future oriented. They're not hemmed in by a lot. They're visionary. They're optimistic. And the negative is, what else can we do? Like, we did this, but, wouldn't it be great if we did this as well? And so those are 4 different things. All have positives. All have negatives. talking about whether you're present or you're planning in the future, whether you're scheduled or unscheduled. And I thought I'm the dreamer, but what did you think I am?
I think that you are the
Planner. Yeah.
Yeah, you are the planner.
Yeah.
And that balances us out. But yeah, you love to schedule things, and you're always looking to the future for the next thing. Hence your job. You're a pastor. So you always do have to look to the future, and that's probably why God called you in this position. But I, as your spouse, can get frustrated at times because I want to enjoy the dinner that night, and you're like, well, let's schedule a year out from our vacation. What dinner do you want to choose? And I'm like, I don't even know.
There's areas of work and vacation that have to plan out. But I would say I'm more the dreamer, unscheduled, because here's what happens in the
you think you're more the dreamer.
I do. Because here's what happens in the Leewald household. Sunday, we don't go shopping and plan out the dinners for the week, right? We go to work on Monday, we get home, and then we're like, are you hungry? As if we don't get hungry like every night. We're like, yeah, I'm hungry. What do you want to eat? And then we list the 5 things we don't want to eat. And then finally we're like, just let's make sandwiches, or let's just throw something in the oven. So we don't schedule out that
right.
Well, I think we're the kind of people like, hey, I know we said we don't have money, but just load the kids up and let's go grab some food real quick. So we're spontaneous, unscheduled. So I'd say that's what we fall more in.
But I think it's good. So even as an individual, I thought it was very interesting to see where I fell because I am unscheduled and very present. And we can write this out in the description, I think, too. I think it's easier to understand once you write it out, what it means. But as I looked at how I am bent towards time, unscheduled and present, I can see where that could lead frustration on your end, that I kind of just sometimes go by the, the wing of the head or whatever that saying is, like, I can just say, hey, plans change or whatever, and you're more of a planner and you want to get done things or be at certain places, and I'm more laid back in that area.
Yep. And I think what they are trying to get through this study is don't put each other in a box. Well, you're unscheduled, and that's the reason we have all these problems. No. The reason you find out what your spouse is like, so as you can reclaim your time together.
Yeah.
And so you can say, this is how this person functions. Mm-hmm. This is how I'm going to be able to spend time with them, and this is the best way to do so. And so for the planner, hey, I'm going to plan out the dinner with them, the time with them, and from 6 to 7, I'm going to have them. I'll have their undivided attention or whatever it looks like. Realizing you can't just be spontaneous with them. Like, hey, let's plan out our lives together tonight. No. Well, you weren't on the schedule, so we can't fit you into the schedule because we're highly planned.
Right. No? To understand it does make a difference. I like what they said in the video, that we're just hardwired differently and uniquely, that God has given us obviously different ways to interpret life in general, and we see it through a different lens sometimes. But God designed us so uniquely that if we can understand each other a little more through this word time, that it does help you understand where the other person's coming from. And I also like that they said this. This is actually one of my favorite parts. That once you understand how you interpret what this looks like as far as time or time together, or how you process things and I process things, it gives you more empathy. And they use that word.
Yeah.
And I love that because I think a lot of times that can cause conflict in a marriage if you don't look at it from the other person's shoes. And little things, right? We're not talking about these big areas that some people might be struggling with. To have empathy, understanding how you see the world, and that gives you more grace and understanding your spouse in those situations as you walk through life and handle conflict.
I think there's a lot of great Bible verses that talk about marriage. We did the 1 Corinthians 13 last week. There's Ephesians 5. But the one that really stood out to me isn't going to be one of those great Bible verses that you think about when it comes to marriage. But I think it gives us an understanding of how we balance that we are different, but we are together. And so when I look at Genesis chapter 2, the very beginning, life's good, man's by himself. And then it says here in verse number 22, then the Lord God made the rib which he had taken from the man into a woman and brought her to the man. And he said, this one at last is the bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. and this one shall be called woman, for she was taken from man. This is why a man shall leave his father and his mother and bond with his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And so there is this, it's not us versus them. It is us biblically seen as one flesh. We're together. We're one person. We're one unit. But within that one unit, the two parts that make up this one unit are generally completely different. From how we see things to how we feel things, from how we show love to how we receive love, to how we view time and how we think our partner should view time as well. And I think the more we understand about each other, the better we can become as one flesh.
Right.
The better we can work together as one unit. And as it says here, the better we can reclaim the moments that we should be having together that sometimes we miss.
Yeah. I think for me personally, our boys are getting older quickly, and me and Sky have been married 20 years now.
That's why we got to plan every moment with them and schedule out.
Right, because it goes by fast. And so we're not perfect at this, or we're not great at this, but I think even just acknowledging that how important marriage is, and I said this the first introduction video, that the enemy would love nothing more to get in between marriages and in the home right now to break up that. So whatever the frustration you're dealing with your spouse, or maybe it's a big struggle, to just go to the basics, as Scott said, and to realize that we are one flesh. And I'll never forget my brother, Jeff, he's a pastor, actually in Paul. He married us, and he used the illustration, like many pastors probably do, that your marriage is kind of like a triangle, and we're connected, that, God is at the top, and then we're connected. And nothing apart from God in a marriage will work. Yes, it can work on a worldly level, but once you get into the real grind of life, your connection with the Lord individually, and then as a marriage, and giving grace and mercy and those things in the daily walk of life, it's a union with the Lord. And I can't imagine not having the Lord walking me through my individual life, let alone our marriage.
Yeah, I think part of that is how we bond emotionally. Hey, you look attractive. I like hanging out with you. You bond physically after you get married. And the one he was talking about is you bond spiritually, that as you grow in your relationship with the Lord, it's something that the rest of the world doesn't get to experience because they don't have that spiritual bond. They don't have that purpose in living the Christian life and understanding their future home in heaven. That we know what we have right now is fun. It's good. I enjoy marriage. But this isn't the best that we have. We know that one day we will be in heaven with God Almighty, right there with Jesus and the saints that have gone on before us. And this is just a time that we're passing through with purpose and mission.
Right.
Kind of like what I closed out service this weekend with. All right. Anything else?
I don't know. That was that. So yeah, make sure that they watch the video, and they maybe just write out. That just helped me because we said a lot of words here.
Yep.
And determine those two questions: what you look like, scheduled, unscheduled, objective, subjective. And maybe talk it through with your spouse this week.
Well, the way they're talking it through with their spouse.
Oh,
is,
yeah. Okay, so here's our cheesy
time.
homework time. All right. And thanks for sticking with us, friends. It's funny. I think that sometimes doing a marriage study can be, what do I want to say? Cheesy?
Yeah.
Cheesy.
Okay.
Well, honey, even watching a marriage, you do not like Hallmark movies.
Oh, yeah.
You do not
No.
so all those things are very cheesy.
Yep.
But I think that it's so important, not this study. I mean, me and you are just kind of.
Well, we're the recap. The
Yeah.
study, the information
Right.
they're getting is good.
Right. But I do think it's important, I realize, to talk about these things. We have never taught a marriage study together before. We did marriage studies.
Conferences.
Right?
Well, yeah.
But just to be so reminded that these things are important. I wish that maybe that we would have started earlier, but God has called us to it 20 years into our marriage to encourage other people in our marriages. But I think it's important. Yeah.
All right. And we're going to carry over that importance with, I think we've asked them to write a love note, and then we went into the $20 date. This past time was the cheesy 1 Corinthians 13.
That wasn't cheesy. That was good.
Yeah. cheesy.
Yeah.
All right, so this week, we think because the weather is breaking, it's going to be 70s this week, we think you should find time to go on a walk. What that walk may look like for some of you is walking to the end of your driveway and getting your mail. Maybe for others, it should be walking around the neighborhood on a 10, 15-minute walk. Maybe others are like, hey, let's go on a 10-mile hike. Whatever your walk looks like, spend that time together. Once again, we love our kids. We hope you love your kids, but this walk should be without kids. Maybe the dog can come, but like just the two of you guys spending time together. And here's what we want you to do. We want you to share what time you think you are. What kind of, what is it, imposter, planner, dreamer, and manager? Which of the four you think, not imposter, improviser, the imposter. Which one you think you are, and talk about it.
Yeah.
So based upon that, that is why you always see me doing such. This is why I always see you doing such. And hopefully you'll come back from this walk happy, understanding each other. The goal is not to get in an argument. The goal is not to get in a fight. But the goal is to talk about how can we become one flesh. God sees us as one flesh. We are designed to be one flesh after we're married. We're bonding physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And as we understand each other that much more, I think it becomes tighter of a one flesh as seen by each other and seen by God.
So are we going to talk about our vacation on our walk?
No, we will not. No, definitely. We don't want to come home fighting. We will talk about these things and how we see each other.
And let us know. It would kind of be cool. Could they send you pictures or something of their a selfie of their walk, or just to keep it interactive and fun or whatever. Me and Scott love to take walks when we can. I love walking. We just go down to the near cemetery.
The cemetery.
Because we don't have a sidewalk, so we go to the cemetery.
And walk around.
So. Yeah.
You good?
Yeah.
All right. Let me close this out in prayer. And thanks for joining us for session 3. Cheesy homework. Go on a walk. Talk about how you view time.
Walk and talk.
All right.
All right.
God, we love you and we thank you. We can just take a few moments and talk about marriage. Lord and God, we know that you are the expert. You designed marriage. It's the first and greatest institution ever existed. Just in the very beginning, we see in even Genesis chapter 2. And Lord, we ask that we would continue to develop into one flesh as you see us. God, that we would not divide from each other, but we would just bond with each other. And God, some of these bonding moments happen when we see our spouse for who they are. God, that we don't put them in a box, but we really see them how they can help us become better and see from different points of view. And God, help us to spend our time together as families and as spouses and have better marriages. God, we love you and we thank you. In